I would like to say rest in peace to the coaching career of Bill Belichick. It's over, and it turns out, system coach. Who knew?
Wow.
Well, hang on. I've been told repeatedly, especially this year, that if you can't perform when some of the people who are around you are out, if you can't lift the team on your back and take them on a little wonderful winning journey all by yourselvesies, well, then you're not very good and you're just a product of your system. So Bill Belichick, system coach. Can't do it without Brady. So I guess that kind of takes him out of the conversation, doesn't it?
For greatest of all time.
Well, for even being great at all. He's simply a product of his surroundings.
Show me one coach in any sport who has ever been great without great players.
Show me anyone who's ever been great without greatness around him.
That's Brock Purdy. You take Brock Purdy to Carolina right now, and he's not an MVP candidate.
Of course not.
Because Carolina's got nothing.
What's Debo if he's on the Panthers? What's Trent Williams if he's, I don't know, on the Washington Commanders? What does that lead to?
It leads to him being a great player, but not a great team.
Holdout is what it leads to.
Well, it leads to Sam Howell probably not being the most sacked quarterback in football.
I'm sorry, did we not actually see Christian McCaffrey play on the Carolina Panthers?
He was really good.
Yes, he was. And it led to, I'm sorry, how many titles?
I got to check the playoff win total for Christian McCaffrey in Carolina.
Listen, I'm going to be bothered by this all year. I'm going to be bothered by it again next year. It's a stupid conversation that we're hanging around certain people and not others.
We hang around everyone.
No, we don't. We do not. We do not hang it around those who have a reputation. Like, we don't hang it around Josh Allen. He didn't even need to win football games. And apparently
he stinks.
No, he doesn't.
Look at our poll on our YouTube page today, right now.
What is it?
Our poll from this morning, right now. In all caps.
Oh.
Who would you take at QB? Brock Purdy or Josh Allen?
It's the first time I've seen this. Brock Purdy.
You know what the vote is?
Yeah, 73% because we're asking.
Brock Purdy.
Because we're asking 49er fans. What do you think that poll would be if we asked Bills fans?
But what do you think that poll would have been 9 weeks ago? It would have been dramatically different. It's because we're all prisoner of the moment. And Josh Allen, what we saw last night, where he single-handedly let Philly back in that game and... You know, with another ghastly interception in a game they were in control of.
Listen, I'm the guy's biggest fan, and I wouldn't do that. I'm not going to say that Brock Purdy's more talented than Josh Allen.
I voted Josh Allen. I was stunned at the poll, the results.
Why does sports even end up in this conversation? Who cares? It doesn't matter. He doesn't have to be better than Josh Allen. He doesn't have to be better than anybody. He has to be good enough to win the Super Bowl. That's all you have to be. Are we stuck on who's better between Steph Curry and LeBron James? I'm not. I don't care. They both win rings.
They both have 4, I believe.
I don't care. They're both good enough. They're both great. And yes, they are both a product of their surroundings.
But who'd you rather have right now, this year, Mark? The answer is Steph Curry.
I guess Steph.
Yeah.
Well, I'd rather have Steph always.
Steph better.
But that's just because I'm a Warrior fan. Therefore, there's a love affair with the greatest player our organization has ever known, and that's Steph Curry. And we're allowed to have that in a growing form with Brock Purdy, too. So if those on YouTube answered that question, Brock Purdy, because they love Brock Purdy, because he was drafted here, and because you watch every play, and because you're impressed by him and he wins almost every week, that's fine. That's totally fair. We don't need to do this. We don't need to compare him to every other individual out there and then go through the process of discrediting him because he's got good players around him. They all do. They all do. Jalen Hurts, is he a product of his surroundings? You better believe he is. You better, do you think if Jalen Hurts was a Bear, do you think that the Bears would be in the playoffs? Let me clue you in. They wouldn't. They wouldn't. You have to be a good team.
Right.
And you have to be on a good team. And it works both ways. You can't be a good team unless your quarterback is a good player.
Unless you have good players around him, too. Like, the Chargers have a really good quarterback, we think, but they're not a good team.
Not a good team.
They have a good receiver. They have a great running back. They've got a good pass rusher when healthy.
2 of them.
Yeah. And yet,
great safety.
They stink.
But bad ownership and a very questionable coach.
Right. And he's a guy who might wind up on the open market in terms of, job openings here in about 5 weeks. So, yes, it's a lot of things. And I know you're being sarcastic about Bill Belichick, who's won 300 games.
He's a system coach.
6 Super Bowls, all with Tom Brady, by the way.
Exactly. I mean, he's been unable to elevate his team.
Right.
When others are not available to him. Got to be able to put him on his back, Dibs.
Yeah.
You got to put him on your back.
And I know that.
And you got to take him to the win.
When he's gone and Mac Jones is still there, you're going to see the real Mac Jones. Please stand up.
He's going to blossom.
Totally.
He's going to blossom once he's got an offensive head coach.
Mac Jones is 30th in the league in interception percentage.
Can you imagine if Kyle had drafted him?
Oh, wow.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh, good Lord.
Turns out the Trey Lance pick was genius.
Well, at least he runs enough so that he did get hurt. Mac doesn't get hurt. That's the problem. We never even would have found Brock.
Wow.
No, I mean, I'm kidding, but you get it.
It's hilarious, though.
I mean, seriously. So, anyway, yeah. Big news, Niner fans. Bill Walsh is still the greatest coach of all time because Belichick, system coach. Actually, never mind. So's Bill. Because how many did he win without Joe?
Yeah, not a one.
None.
Yeah.
How many would he have won if Jeff Garcia were his quarterback? Or even worse.
Steve Young.
That's right. That's that chump.
Yeah, he got out just in time.
I just
dodged that bullet.
You don't win in the NFL if you don't have a good quarterback. And I am exhausted and don't care if he's better than blank. Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff. It doesn't matter.
Right.
It is wildly irrelevant.
I do think it's an interesting question as it pertains to the MVP award and this year because Jalen Hurts last night, what Elliott did as the kicker definitely helped propel his MVP case
of course.
A little further at 10-1. If they lose that game and they go to 9-2, I do think that we're looking at a little bit more of a Dak versus Brock MVP question.
Well,
but we still are, honestly.
It's kind of fascinating. In any sport, in order to win an MVP, it is reliant on your team being good.
You got to be good.
To a degree.
You got to at least be better than decent.
Unless you overwhelm. Shohei Ohtani just won the MVP. His team, not good. But it was so stunning, so overwhelming. But think
Russell Westbrook, even though you don't love what he did.
Right, they had to be good.
They weren't good. He was overwhelming.
But they were
a 6 seed.
Yeah, but they're a playoff team. But
right, what he did was overwhelming.
Yes, well, he did. He performed
individually. Yes,
he achieved a stat that had never been done before
since the Big O.
Yeah. And so, okay, fine.
And I love how you got to close your eyes and kind of grit your teeth when you say it.
Well, I was right at the time, and no one wanted to hear me then, and now it's too late for anybody to care. I hated his MVP candidacy.
I know you did.
It was fake.
I didn't know you then, I know you now. But
it was fake at the time, and it's still fake. And looking back on it, everybody should realize that it was fake. The idea that
shame on whoever voted for him. Is that what you're saying?
The idea that guy is the most valuable player in the NBA is a joke. It is a complete joke. But think of all the baseball players who will 45 homers and 120. You can't win the MVP if your team wins 72 games. You can't do it. You can't do it.
What the Angels win this year?
Well,
80.
But that guy didn't just hit 40-something home runs. He's also one of the best pitchers in the game.
He's fragile.
You know what I'm saying? Like it goes both ways. Your team has got to be good, and your team can't be good unless you're good.
Right.
So nobody's getting taken for a ride. Brock's not getting taken for a ride. Jalen's not getting taken for a ride. Nobody is just on a piggyback right now on their way into the playoffs. I just don't believe that it works that way. So, yes, plenty of credit, but also not all of it. Yeah, the Niners have a really good team. So do the Eagles. So do the Chiefs.
Yep, so does Dallas.
So do the Baltimore Ravens. And Lamar. Like, right now, I don't think there should be a whole lot of separation between Lamar, Jalen Hurts, Brock Purdy, Patrick Mahomes, I guess, is not even having his best season.
Dak Prescott.
And by the way, Dak Prescott. Yeah. And McCaffrey and Tyreek Hill's names should be in there too. And really, no one has separated himself as the clear leader, to me.
Yeah, I would say Trevor Lawrence, but he's only got 12 touchdowns. They're 8-3. But I mean, he's up there in QBR, and in terms of completion percentage, he's been good. But it's been a little bit of a weird year in terms of his numbers. They aren't good enough to put him up in that category.
You said something before the show that I really agree with. Purdy, if he really wants candidacy, you go win this week.
Right.
Because people do really, they focus on what did you do in your biggest game. And that's actually the big knock on Dak, is you went to San Francisco on Sunday Night Football, you turned it over 3 times and got beat by 32 points. Now, same thing for Trevor Lawrence. What'd you do? The Niners came to town. You couldn't even get a first down.
Right.
So you're out. Now, Brock, what has he done in his biggest game? 3 touchdown passes and a 42-10 win on Sunday Night Football. But, that was his biggest game until this one.
Well, and
now this is his biggest game.
This game on Thanksgiving night was, the 2 things you'll take away if you're not a Niner fan. You'll remember the throw that he made that was a ghastly pick 6 from his own end zone. And then you'll remember the throw to Brandon Ayuk. And I mentioned it before the show, 22 personnel, which means he only had a tight end and 1 receiver in the pattern. You had 1 receiver basically down the field against 4 defenders, and Brock Purdy rolls left, he drifts left, and he throws a dart between 4 defenders, touchdown Ayuk, night, game over. So if you had any doubts about his arm strength, about his vision, and then the camera cuts to Shanahan, and he did the quiet fist pump, and at that point, it is, 31-13, and it's game over. So that to me was a loud MVP statement from Brock Purdy.
There's no doubt. I don't. You said if you still had questions, what are they?
Well, people who haven't seen him have questions.
Well, but if you haven't seen him, then do me a favor and sit the debate out.
Well, it's not how it works.
You haven't seen him.
That's
I got in the car this morning and someone called Steiny and Goo and goes, this Purdy MVP talk, it's just absurd. Let me tell you why.
Tell me.
Because when 2 of his teammates were out, he failed to blah, blah,
He failed
blah.
to make a field goal kick, Mark, at the end of the game against Cleveland.
He failed to what? Get to 20 points? Right, because his kicker couldn't kick?
Yep.
Do you remember that against the Bengals, he threw for 350 and rushed for 60.
Yeah,
no, but no.
That 350 was.
I know it's faux, but it doesn't matter.
It's garbage time.
And he had
yards.
2 bad picks. And
the Minnesota game, he was subpar.
But people talk about it as if the offense didn't function. It's like that's not true.
Well, and also as if other quarterbacks haven't had bad games.
Exactly. Patrick Mahomes has had a hard time getting to 24 all year long.
Yeah.
So if you still have doubts, tell me what they are. What is it you even want to say? Why would he not be at least involved in this conversation?
Exactly.
That is very undecided at this hour.
I think it's wide open.
It's totally wide open.
And if you haven't watched him, you can look at numbers and completion percentage. He's number 1. Quarterback rating, number one. QBR, number 1. Yards per attempt, number 1. And, you go through a lot of these metrics.
By the way, his yards per attempt are among the top all time this year.
Yeah, he's a full yard per attempt ahead of C.J. Stroud. And, you look at interception percentage, he is currently tied for 13th, which is, that's not bad. 2% of his throws are picked off. That's not a lot.
What's the TD to interception ratio, 19-6?
He is at 19-6.
Yeah,
Russell Wilson 20-4.
He's quietly,
he's quietly
had a really good year, and Denver is starting to win a bunch of football games. I just don't know why you'd keep him out. I'm not here to tell you he's won the award. It's totally a logjam right now.
Yeah.
But nobody's run away with it. And if you want to eliminate him from the competition, you could not complete 3 sentences on why and not have people laughing at you. You cannot do it. Oh, but remember the 3. What about him? What about him? The Chiefs have 3 losses. The Ravens have 3 losses. Lamar threw a pick 6 to the Browns that helped them come back and win the game. You cannot look at any player and not poke holes. Josh Allen isn't even above 500.
No.
Joe Burrow's out for the year. What, like, I don't know. To
me, it's Lamar, Jalen, Brock, and Dak. And
Patrick's in it. He's in it.
Yeah, I don't think he's in it based on what we're used to seeing from him. And if you watch the Chiefs, and I know that you do, the Chiefs are a product of their defense this year more than ever before.
Agreed. And I would argue that Christian McCaffrey and Tyreek Hill at this hour deserve to still at least be mentioned.
Right.